between 5th and 6th Avenue. It's kind of the street right in front of the Omni and the Hard Rock Hotel. They're pushing the crowd that way toward Petco Park, and it's interesting to that end. Right now, we're in a pretty open area outside across the street from the convention center, but as the police push the crowd that way, the street narrows, and so it actually gets a little bit more dense down this way. So the crowds it's almost forcing the crowds, both sides here, closer together, almost I don't know, creating a worse situation. But again, I'm not going to second guess the police officers. Obviously, they have a plan. Right now, that plan, it seems, is to push the crowd to the east around this side street. So I've got arguments going on all around me. What you're looking at, something going on, and you can see, or maybe you can't see, but they're firing bottles and paper back and forth. And it's just pretty nasty, and there's just these shouting matches going back and forth, and you know, it's interesting, Mark and Monica, we had heard earlier from one of the protesters, they were basically suggesting, look, we have a message here that Donald Trump is here to create a sort of divisiveness. Again, this is the anti-Trump group. I'm not taking sides, but he was saying the Trump strategy is to create this message, send out this message of divisiveness, and we don't want our message to get lost. But I got to tell you, that message is getting lost.
Okay, Artie Ojeda will ask you to stand by. For all of our audience, you've been watching NBC7 News at 4. We are seamlessly just going to go into our 5 o'clock newscast as we continue to monitor the volatile situation. In case you were just joining us, you'll see at the bottom of the screen Donald Trump has been in San Diego, but so are the demonstrators, and so is the arrest following this. The story of the day has been that things have been largely peaceful until about 20 minutes ago. Donald Trump came to town in a big jet with Trump written on the side. He came down to the convention center, standing room only crowd as we look at some of the demonstrators outside, did his speech, spoke for at least an hour covering topics on immigration, saying build a wall, and another doing shout outs to the military. And there was one arrest when one of the demonstrators tried to go into a secure area by police. That said, he departed, but his protesters stayed there, and they have been having clashes with Donald Trump supporters as we look at a police presence, and San Diego police now confirming at least 3 people have been arrested.
So we're looking overhead by NBC7 News Chopper, and we have reporters spread out throughout the gas lamp and outside of the convention center, one of them being our Omari Fleming. Omari is going to join us. Can you hear us now, Omari?
Yeah, I can hear you, Monica.
And can you tell us where you're positioned there? We've been looking at an aerial shot. We've been seeing those San Diego police out in force in their riot gear, kind of moving in a line to try to push some of the demonstrators in different directions. Okay. I see them there behind you. Where are you?
Yeah, they're not just pushing out demonstrators, they're also pushing reporters out as well too. I'm standing at 5th and L. I'm actually right in front of the Hard Rock Cafe. This is that area where Artie was standing just a little bit earlier, where you saw a bunch of people that were congregated going at it with each other. But as you can see, a huge show of force right now. There was a scuffle that was going on just a couple of minutes ago. You saw people throwing bottles, people throwing paper. Got a little bit heated for a second, so that's when police stepped in and started putting this line up and then just pushing everybody out of this area. We haven't been alerted in terms of when they're going to actually make everybody disperse. As it stands right now, they seem to be just allowing people to go ahead and protest and share their feelings. What we're getting essentially is on this side of the street right here is where you've had the Trump supporters. On the opposite side of the street is where you had the protesters, and they're kicking up their protest again right now. The protesters on the other side have been saying some disparaging remarks about Trump, and then on this side of the street where you have the supporters, they've been chanting USA and also build that wall. And when that build that wall chant starts to kick up, that's when you get a lot of people who get frustrated and start kicking up those disparaging marks with regards to Trump. And as you saw just a little bit earlier, those bottles being thrown, a lighter was thrown earlier also. Anything that people have, they've been throwing. What I know right now is from what I've seen, 2 people arrested. I tried to ask a sergeant a little clear in terms of how many people were arrested. He said he did not have an idea at this time. You guys were also talking about that second person who was that we saw arrested in that blue shirt, and you were saying that it seems like he had something kind of disparaging with regards to Hillary Clinton on his shirt. From what I've seen around here, a number of people have been wearing Hillary for prison shirts, not Hillary for president. So I don't know if that's that same phrase or terminology that you guys were talking about that may have been a little bit disparaging with regards to Hillary. But what we've seen out here are T-shirts that are saying Hillary for prison instead of Hillary for president. But as you see right now, a huge show of force right now. The San Diego police officers in their riot gear. Right now you're looking at what are we seeing here? You're seeing that the clash of, not necessarily clashing right now, but the display of people right now, the supporters and the protesters kind of going at it and sharing their idea on things right now. So that's the very latest from here at 5th and L, right in front of the Hard Rock Cafe. Going to send it back to you guys.
Interesting to see both your perspective there on the ground and also the aerial shot from on the right-hand part of the screen. We knew going into today that there would be at least 5 organized protests surrounding Trump's appearance, including the Smash Trump San Diego anti-Trump rally, the Unión del Barrio Donald Trump Fuera de San Diego, You Are Not Welcome Here march, which began at Chicano Park and extended to the convention center, and also a Love Trump's Hate rally directed outside of the center. That said, we don't know that any of these participants or any of the ones involved in any of the clashes today. We did understand that a lot of representatives from these various organizations were in communication with the San Diego Police Department and kind of mapped out a peaceful strategy and all of that. But as we've been hearing from our reporters there on the streets, and as you've been seeing for yourself, we look at more police reinforcements reinforcing that perimeter which they have established, things have gotten ugly in the last 15-20 minutes or so, with 3 confirmed arrests and still a lot of screaming and shouts, and even unfortunately some objects being thrown about.
Let's go back out to NBC7's Artie Ojeda. And Artie, you made an interesting observation earlier where you said the police line, the police in riot gear, were pushing people and maybe even funneling people into a smaller space. My question for you now is, do you feel like the tactics they've been using have been working to slow some of these altercations that we're seeing, especially on the aerial shot? We're seeing some bottles go back and forth. Are things dispersing where you are? You are really in the thick of it.
Right, Monica, we're just to the east of 5th Avenue in front of the convention center. I don't know if you could see what just happened here. Police put a young man in handcuffs. They're leading him away, not sure if he was arrested. Yeah, but you raised an interesting point, and we were talking about that earlier, not questioning the police strategy, just trying to figure it out. You can see right here, there's a line of officers here with batons, their masks. What they did was they pushed the crowd up this way, but as they pushed them that way toward Petco Park, this other line of police officers with their vests, their baton, their hard hats, came pushing everybody this way. So for a few minutes, it was almost suffocating in this area right where we are right now, because the crowds were just being pushed into each other. So now those crowds are being pushed this way back toward the convention center, and just walk along with me. And again, not exactly sure what the strategy is, other than to push the crowd now away from the Hard Rock Hotel back onto the plaza across the street from the convention center, Harbor Drive. The trolley tracks just right on the other side. Please go up on the railing. Police confrontation right now with this guy. But anyway, what's interesting is as they push the crowd this way, those altercations that we were seeing in front of the Hard Rock Hotel, they're still happening, except in a different location. So now they're going over here, and Mark, you can shoot down that way, and we can see another confrontation going on right there. Meanwhile, San Diego police right here watching it all unfold directly in front of them, literally just feet away. So and right now officers are screaming at these protesters to get out of the street. All right. You guys need to go. Okay, be careful. So,
okay, so
the San Diego police officers, hey, cross over that. Hold on a second, Mark. We got to get over this.
Okay, we'll let you get situated right there. Artie, we'll check back with you in just a moment. Omari, you have some new information for us.
No Trump.
Omari Fleming, go ahead, please.
I've been talking to a couple of police officers out here just to get a sense of what's going on. Again, as you can see, this huge show of force right now. If you can take a look right here, just pan over to the right. Just if you kind of take a broad view of what's going on here, you can see police setting up perimeters and setting up a line. From what I'm being told, they're not going to allow these protests to go on for much longer. They're just kind of waiting on resources to come in. But if you can look at what's going on, there's this kind of an L shape that's going on right here. And then you also have another line that's coming from the left-hand side over here as we pan over. And so what I'm being told right now is the fact that what they're going to do is have these police officers you're looking at start pushing forward, and that will funnel all of these protesters and supporters and whatnot out of this area onto Harbor Drive. That's the area in which they're going to be funneling these people out of right now. So again, what I'm being told is the fact that they are not going to allow this protest to go on for very much longer. They're just waiting for resources to come in. You can see that they've kind of set up these perimeters and also an L shape to a degree, and they're going to have police officers start pressing forward and funnel all these protesters and supporters out onto Harbor Drive so this can end fairly shortly.
Okay, Omari, thanks for that.
Guys, back to you.
Fascinating to get a look at this. I mean, an extreme police presence, as Mark had mentioned earlier. Really, the story of the day was that this was quite peaceful up until just about, about 30 minutes ago or more, when we saw some of these altercations break out. And now to know the police strategy, because in some cases we've been watching them hold their line as bottles go back and forth. A few people detained or taken into handcuffs. We're going to wait to get some more numbers on just how many people they've detained, but it sounds like this isn't going to go on for much longer before they try to disperse these crowds with some backup support that's on the way.
Here's interesting, setting another perimeter as we look at some of the police officers at the top of your screen. And let's try and bring Artie Ojeda back into this conversation as we look at this live picture. Artie, what was interesting was that police already had sort of an exit strategy, we understand, for the people who attended the Donald Trump rally to sort of get them out of there. So we are presuming that the people who have stayed around having these arguments with people want to be in that mix.
Bad intentions, definitely, Mark. Let me follow up on what Omari was saying. Definitely the police officers are pushing the crowd back toward Harbor Drive, but as we move back toward Harbor Drive, those people leaving are going to have to get through this, because there's at least one group here who have decided to stage what is essentially a sit-in. This is on the plaza right across the street from the convention center. This group, calling itself a peaceful group, but they've decided to, almost in silence, in a really interesting juxtaposition between the loud vocal protesters, they've decided to sit in and have a quiet, peaceful protest. Now again, these guys are sitting right here where police are directing the protesters to go to. So you can see the line of police officers right there. Meanwhile, if we push over to the right, you can see that group of people that were down the street in front of the hotel, or the Hard Rock Hotel. That group was in front of the hotel. They're being forced, as Omari was telling you, back up here toward Harbor Drive, and they're making their way toward us. So it's getting pretty ugly right now. Looks like we got a fist fight going on. I guess the pictures really don't need any description. However, it appeared that there was one guy ready to fight through a couple of punches. He went down, and now everybody's being pushed back toward us. Now we got to be very careful.
We're seeing that from an aerial perspective right now.
Is going to cross paths. They're going to cross paths with this group of people sitting down, and almost unbelievable, and I don't know if you can see this from the sky, but this group of unruly people who are being pushed away by the police officers actually walked around this group of people who are sitting there, almost as if like a respectful gesture as to not interrupt this peaceful protest. So on the one hand, you got this group of people, fist fights going on in the middle of the crowd. They push their way past this group of people sitting down, having a peaceful protest. So some of the very interesting sights and sounds happening right now at the convention center, outside of the convention center.
And Artie, you're providing us a tremendous perspective, because you are right. We are watching this from up above, and NBC7 News Chopper, we saw the punches thrown there up above as you were describing them from the ground, and so are still continuing to watch that group kind of make their way down into the gas lamp. I just heard from Megan Tavrizian, who says they're by the Hilton Bayfront, just a few blocks from where you are. She says it's totally normal over there. It's totally quiet, and has been in where she was inside the convention center all day long. So you really have been in the heart of it here. A couple times you've made us a little nervous in the thick of it all, but really appreciate your perspective from down there right now.